So, Lillian, we're back with another entry discussing anime. I feel like it'd be quite fitting to round out a trilogy again,
For the third time.
another unofficial trilogy, because it wasn't planned. It was just going to be like the one entry, but we thought, oh, there's a few more things we want to talk about, so we did a second and
I also feel like in the last two, I didn't really have much of my own anime that I've watched. Like, other than we watched together, we had what we watched together. And then in the last two, I didn't really have too many that I actually had watched properly. I maybe watched the first episode here or two, but this time round, I've watched a lot. I've watched quite a few different animes, so I might bring a surprise point or two. Who knows?
Could be interesting. I can't wait to hear about it. But for now, we've got a few to talk about. Stuff that's been a long time coming because it's been actually gone there so long, almost a year probably since we watched the first entry we're going to talk about. But I feel like we'd start this off with One Punch Man.
Yes, what a series.
So we've seen season 1 and we saw season 2. God, it was probably almost a year ago now.
Yeah.
But we've seen season 2 now, and in your opinion, how would you say you feel about the second season?
Specifically the second season.
Yeah.
The second season, it's a little... In terms of the way the writing was, it kind of is true to the manga. So they had the storyline there for them. It was mainly the fact that season 2 changed the animating studios. So originally season 1 was animated by Mappa, which is a very renowned series. They're doing Mob Psycho 100. They're doing Jujutsu Kaisen, I believe they've animated as well. They're just a very high quality thing. So obviously they've set the bar very, very high in season 1. And the animating studio that picked it up after, the name leaves me, but maybe I'll get back to that. But the animating studio is still very good, don't get me wrong. Like, you get used to it after a while, but it's a very noticeable difference when you jump from season 1 to 2. So it doesn't feel as great. But in terms of the actual story itself, how the actual anime is, I love this anime. It's the whole story and the whole world. It's got. I've been following for a while with the manga. I keep up with it every time they release a chapter. I'm there reading it. And something this series does very, very well is focus on the characters around the main character, because the main character is a joke. So where do you go from there? You focus it around other characters that are actually serious, of course, to actually make it like a very gripping series. So it focuses on all the characters around it. It has great comic moments when they meet Saitama. You think, wow, how are they actually going to get beaten? They are magnificently strong, but you always have in the back of your mind, I can't wait for them to just get utterly destroyed by Saitama. Like, they've been through this whole grueling backstory. Like, Garu in the second season is specifically focused on as the hero hunter. He's going about hunting down all the top heroes he can. First, he starts off low, just to get his name out. Picks up a few C class, then he moves up to B, sees how they are. But anyone he comes across, he'll challenge. So he bumped into a couple S classes and absolutely destroyed some of them. Some of them were a bit off and on. So like a Watchdog, he actually lost against, if you remember.
Yeah.
And we still in the manga, Watchdog is an enigma. We don't know much about him. I want to know so much about him. He's got the same face as Saitama, and he's really just questionably strong. But the reason he's not noticed very much is because he only protects a certain city. He only protects one. He's just in the town square on a pillar. Any monster that steps foot, he just smells it and he just kills them. It's great. But I want to see more of characters like that. But you've watched now season 1 and season 2. What do you think about it?
Gotta say, in terms of the animation, because we watched season 1 and 2 months apart, I didn't really notice it because I was more focused on the story aspect of it.
Yeah.
And you were lying when you told me in advance that the story is not about Saitama, it's about the people around him. And season 2 introduced a lot of new characters, and they were equally entertaining to watch. As you said, Garu, the guy who's
Garu, I think it's pronounced Garu.
Yeah, he's set up this very dangerous character, and he's like
Yeah,
out to get everything.
like he's a really cool villain.
Yeah, he's a really fun to watch. He's also he can be very intense, but it made it that much more entertaining every time he did end up crossing paths with
He
Saitama.
had some fantastic fights in this season 2. He had absolutely fantastic fights in there. Like the ones where he's surrounded. I think it's almost my favorite fight in the series, other than every other Saitama fight. But in terms of all the other characters, Garu's fight with all the a lot of the top A-class heroes when he gets surrounded, when he's injured in the shed, was one of the most insane fights I've ever seen. Because when you're watching another character, you realise, oh shit, yeah, they're getting beaten up. Like, this doesn't happen when I watch Saitama fight. What's going on? It's over by now. So like, it creates almost this attachment with the other characters, and it's absolutely fantastic. Who's your favourite character so far?
God, I think the best is my most favorite character out of the second season is it's got to be
King.
King. That's it, King. Because first up, when we're first introduced to him, immediately I thought, oh look, it's All Might. and then
Do you know what? You're not wrong. Yeah.
and then it seems like they're building up to that. Like, oh, this guy is like one of the most strongest heroes, and then you find out he's just
the strongest man alive.
And then you find out he's not. He's just a normal guy.
He's just a normal guy. But everyone is now theorizing that he has the ultimate power of luck, because his luck is insane. Like, to the femtosecond. Like, in the recent manga, there's a certain part where everything goes up to him. Everyone else is down. Saitama's like, not yet there yet. Everyone is down. King is the only one left standing. Child Emperor yells out, use your psychic super mega beam or something. And like, the Child Emperor like knows this as a move that he has, apparently, that people have like made up online and he has no idea of. And he's like, what the... Yeah, okay. And he's like, I have no choice. I'm just going to have to try. And he says it, puts out his hand, and it shows to the femtosecond, like, Saitama pops up, like, just... it was Garu pops up in a fight just at the right time. So it looks like he shot a beam out of his hands and everyone thinks he's amazing again.
Also, I can't. So that was like, that's a future point of the story, isn't it?
Much later, yeah, right near kind of the main conclusion to season 2.
Oh yeah, yes. I'm vaguely remembering something similar that happened in season 2 with that, but again, it's been a while. But I do remember he was one of my favorite characters as the moment he was introduced, really, because he was such fun to watch, and also because he ends up becoming quite acquainted with Saitama, it made it that much more entertaining. Because he didn't end up becoming just a one-off character for an episode or two. He's like clearly going to be, I'm assuming, around for, as you've already teased me, around for future parts of the story.
Yes,
which is going to be quite entertaining. A lot of the other characters were quite interesting too, like the Bat guy.
Yeah, Metal Bat. He's he's a cool character. He's a cool hero. They've written that guy really well.
And also I'm forgetting her name. She's the sister of the telepath.
Yes. So there's Hell Blizzard, which is the top of class B by season 2, and she's the one with the Blizzard group, like the group of things. She's the one with black hair, long dress, and then Tatsumaki, I think is her name. But she's a tornado of terror. She has green hair. She's very small.
Yes, she was interesting.
No, she's a very cool character, especially by the end. There's some really cool stuff that they do.
Yeah, there's a lot of the characters introduced go through a lot of entertaining stories, especially a lot of them are more, they're almost villains, but they're not. But they're
very selfish, like heroes. Like they're so powerful. They're in it for themselves because you have to sacrifice a lot to get where you're that powerful.
Yeah, I think the one that stood out in terms of a villain was the guy with the ponytail.
Yeah, the martial arts event, but I guess he was not a villain. It was just a jerk.
Yeah,
and I guess his world hasn't been rocked like that before.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing about his character, because he's introduced. You merely think, okay, this could go either way. He's either going to be the arsehole of the story, or he's going to be turned into the villain of the story. But no, he goes through in 3 to 4 episodes, he goes through such development because he gets the shit bit beaten out of him.
But he also does some cool stuff, like he tries to protect people. He actually handles his own against like some pretty high tier monsters, and yeah, it gets. It does get interesting with him later in the series. So.
Yeah, I think that the big takeaway from season 2 for me was that I really enjoyed it. My only criticism is that it kind of ends abruptly because they introduced during the later half of the story this revolution happening with the mutants or mutant kind or something.
Yeah,
and and it was interesting, but I was kind of disappointed at the end because there's a lot of good fights that are tied in with that later on in the season, but and Satomai does come back, come in near the end to help out, but I did kind of feel like, oh, that's the end. It doesn't really. It's not that it doesn't feel like an ending. More just feels like, oh, I kind of expected them to
it's
go.
More of a build up for the next season.
Yeah.
I would say.
Maybe that's more of an anime thing, but I was kind of expecting them to be more of a big bam of last episode for the season.
Well, we discover more about like what that was and why they're doing it, and like a bit more about that later into the manga. And I think it does pay off personally.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so fair enough in that regard. I think
without spoiling it, just because Kobi hasn't actually seen it, so I'm trying not to spoil it for him if he ever does want to catch up with reading. I always highly recommend it.
Maybe I still have yet to.
It's a big read. I don't blame you. There's a lot of chapters to go from here, especially season 2 is actually very very early on.
Yeah, I still have yet to pick up the manga. Maybe I will, but again, I'm in a phase right now. I'm just enjoying the anime content side of it.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if it will get a new season anytime soon as well, just because it's kind of up in the air with the animators. No one really wants to do it.
Yeah,
I think it's a bit up in the air with the copyright, but I haven't looked too much into it. But I'm just hoping one day I'll see a trailer for it.
That's a shame. I think the only thing I know for sure is that season 3 is confirmed. It's just a matter of when we're going to get it. But so that's one bright side to look at it. In terms of actually anticipating season 3, you know all already, so I can't really. It's no point in me asking what do you think is going to happen. But for me, I can just say I hope that they continue with the storyline with the mutants. I really want to see that maybe take center stage with the next season.
It definitely does.
Definitely would. Yeah, and I'm really curious to see if they'll ever tap into explaining, because I know that, again, I don't say anything, just so no spoilers, but I really hope we can find a bit more about where Saitama gets his powers from, because that's the only thing I know for sure you've told me that will be explained at some point, or it is being explained by the time you've read it.
No, they haven't yet, but there's kind of a hintling. There's kind of like a little. They've dropped like a little bit of information about it, which, interestingly enough, is a hero I didn't really pay much attention to, has kind of come into the limelight a bit, trying to work on it. And I'm not going to say anything because it's kind of, he's going through something similar. So it's yeah. So maybe we'll get something from that, but no, I don't have the answer yet, so I don't know either.
Fair enough. All I can say for now is really enjoyed season 2, and hey, if anyone has yet to watch One Punch, give it a shot, because damn it, is it a fun watch. And if we ever do get season 3 in the near future, I can't wait to see what happens next, because it's really entertaining.
Yeah, this is a very entertaining series.
So on to the next topic here, To Your Eternity.
Wow.
Okay, so we've now seen the whole of the first season, and this is my second time having viewed it. It's still as good as the first time I watched it. My God! And you before, in the previous entry we discussed it. You had only seen the first episode, so the whole of last episode was pretty much just discussing what you thought of the pilot. Now you've seen the full story. What are your thoughts?
Wow, where do I start? Oh, there's so much to this, and obviously spoilers ahead. So we still don't know exactly what he is, and there's obviously bigger questions still to be answered. but we're seeing so much more, and it's so beautiful. I love the development of this character from being a husk of just bare consciousness to becoming a fully developed uh, personality is quite the journey, and he's learning quick. Like he's got social cues down almost now. Like he's just getting phrases and stuff and local slang. That's pretty much all he has to learn now because he can tell people no, sod off. And I love all the like the transformations that he's been getting as well on the island of I don't actually know the name of the island, but the prison.
Yeah, the prison island, which is just I think it's called Jinji. I can't even pronounce it myself, but it's just,
Jujunji.
but it's just the prison island.
Yeah, so it's basically it's an island where they're all stuck. No one can leave, and you can become the king of the place by.
Yeah, it's all about power dynamics, really. Like if you're the strongest and if you're able to beat everyone, you are automatically the ruler of the island.
Yeah, so if you win like this tournament, you if you enter, you'll most likely die. But if you come out on top, you have say over everything, and you can do what you want. You could even leave the island if you want.
I gotta say, I feel like going in from a structure point of view, what would you say was your favorite arc out of the first season?
Out of the first season specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's got to be March.
Oh, so the Spirit Bear arc.
Yeah, the Spirit Bear arc. I did love that. I felt very close to March. I did.
Oh.
I did very much enjoy the other parts to it, but yeah, the Spirit Bear arc was absolutely fantastic. Just specifically seeing him like learn and
I feel
like being the animalistic self. It's nice to look back on.
Yeah,
to how far he's come now in such a short amount of time as well.
I think that's one of the big draws for this anime for the first season, especially because the first episode pretty perfectly sets up what this character is and what his goal is by the end of that episode. So you wonder, okay, so what would happen next? The thing you would expect. He encounters life, and he has to learn from that, from how he interacts with them, and the introduction of March and all the other characters that's introduced in that first batch of chapters and episodes. They really sell you how, oh, this is how it would probably happen, how they run into each other, and you see the good side and the bad side of people. Really,
Yeah,
and it was so entertaining, really, especially when you just get to know these characters, and then you're hit with reality when they're put in these dangerous situations.
Yeah, I absolutely love this series. It is a fantastic one. Even like one of the moments that I think I liked the most was when he turned into that girl that he met with March in the arena.
Oh, that's in the later, yeah, when he turns into
because then he kind of like realizes, oh, she just died. Like he knows when people just die. He doesn't even have to be close to them.
yeah, he
like
can
next to them. I mean,
yeah, when he turns into them, he can realize that, oh, this person has passed away now. Yeah, I think her name was Pam. It's eluding me, and it's been like a few months since we watched it.
But he's got a very agile warrior girl now.
Yeah, what I like about his transformation is that each one has a skill that allows him to adapt to a situation. So with March, he's able to climb trees more.
He's a better climber.
He's a better climber. With the bear, he's more of a force of nature, able to combat everything on a human convention level. With again, I'm assuming the wolf, equally dangerous.
It's more one-on-one kind of thing. He just jumps through and can only kill one thing at a time. But when he's a bear, he can kill a lot. When he's March, he can kill nothing, but he's pretty good at climbing. When he's I've forgotten his name. It's really bad. The muscly, fire-breathing guy. Oh, what is his name?
I just remembered his name's Guga.
Yeah, that was it. It was like Guga, Gugu.
Yeah, Guga, or let's just say Guga for now. And I remember also now the girl. Her name was Panora or Panna.
Oh yeah, it's very difficult names. But yeah, I really liked it when they had that moment where he turned into her and just realized that she died, and it's like, oh shit, what happened to her? Like not knowing, but just knowing they're dead. And it's like, yeah, at least you kind of know they're dead, but that's also awful.
It plays into the theme of immortality because the main
Yeah.
character we know is
How much
long-lasting.
she's gonna have to shoulder is insane.
So, for me, I think the best arc for me out of the whole first season has to be the brothers arc when he meets Guga for the first time, and he builds that brotherly friendship and relationship with him. Because up to that point, everything he experienced with March and Pan, they were that was very sweet, but at the same time also it was filled with a lot of danger and suspense, and that was the arc where we finally got him to settle down. He got to live a life really, and even though there was a lot of stuff still happening at the time,
Yeah, he
you got,
actually aged in his
yeah,
like original form.
he got to live a moment of just normality for a sense, and he was able to learn things as simple as cooking. He was able to live with people who were able to care for him, and especially in Goo's case, who went through a very traumatic childhood. Honestly, all things considered, he he had someone he could count on, and as someone who has brothers myself, it hit me in the feels,
Yeah,
especially with how
that's
the arc
big
ends up
feels.
turning in the end.
Oh, why did he have to die? It's very sad.
Hmm. Yeah, I think it was up to that point because after March died, I thought, oh damn, that's sad, but that's not going to be like a recurring thing. But once it happened again in this arc, that's when I realized, oh okay, I see what's going to
Whenever we
happen
meet,
now.
I knew as soon as he gained muscles, as soon as we saw him as an adult, and he was like, and he was still lifting, I knew. Well, actually, since he breathed fire, I knew, but I didn't think he would get super muscly. But when I saw him super muscly, I was like, oh man, that's gonna be him soon. Oh
Mm.
god. I just didn't know how it was going to happen or when it was going to happen or if it would even happen. Maybe it was going to do a double take and be like, nah, it's too strong.
I think that's another strength of this anime is really just, and this, to be fair, this is not just for this anime because a lot of the ones that we've watched lately, they've all had strong characters in them and even supporting characters. But this definitely applies to this anime too, just because again with Guga, his arc too, you get to see his life story and what he goes through to become the person he is. It's equally tragic, but equally so uplifting too. And again, you feel for his character, especially when he's at his low point, and also near the end where he's at his high point, and he's being put through the ringer again, but he's still not giving up. Especially when it comes to the girl he loves.
Yeah,
And
that was such a beautiful arc as well.
and also, I've got to say, we cannot talk about To Your Eternity without talking about. Oh, God, her name's quite similar to Panora, but it's Pinora.
Pioran?
Pioren. Again, it annoys me. Even though we've watched these animes and I've seen it twice, because it's been so much time and since then, we just forget the names. Honestly,
Well,
I apologize.
Well, it's not even that. We're just very dyslexic, so it's very hard to say for us, regardless. So
it's true.
there we go.
But yeah, Pinora. Let's just say that her name's Pinora.
I think it's Pioran.
Pioren, thank you. But yeah, the elderly lady. Just to simplify it, the elderly lady that we meet in episode 2, she's there. She's the one who's basically observing March because we find out that she's pretending to be a shaman. And off that introduction, you think, oh, okay, we know what this kind of character is. This is going to be one of those characters who's just out for themselves, and she is. I mean, she literally tries stabbing Fuji when they're in the same room together properly, and just so she can buy her freedom. But the journey she goes through as well, and by the end of the season, when you see what happens to what becomes of her and her relationship with Fuji, I think what really hit it for me was when she's taken prisoner and he has to sneak into her jail cell,
Yeah.
and that reunion scene where they hug each other. You realize, God, like 18, 17 episodes ago, these two could not. you would not imagine these two in this scenario,
Yeah.
this caring this much for each other.
She should not leave her house because every time she leaves, she gets put in prison. What is wrong with this old lady? Who keeps putting this old lady in prison? What has she done? What has she actually done to deserve the coldest, darkest? They hold her like she's the worst criminal in the world as well.
Well, she was a criminal in her
Yeah.
early life, but
But
yeah.
like, she's an old lady now. She was still dangerous, definitely.
Yeah. But she was trying.
Yeah, no, she wasn't. She was a great character for our main character, Fuji.
Yeah, I feel like it really showed how much she cared. She grew to care for him, and he grew to care for her, which made it even more tragic near the end when she does end up passing away. But even in death, she's like, "Oh, I want to be there for Fuji." So I imagine that's something that's going to bleed over into the next season. And before we talk about anticipations, I've got to ask, what did you think of the villain?
Cool. It was very interesting. Yeah, very, very interesting. I didn't think she would come back. Honestly, I thought she might be back, but then I kind of thought they actually like. Oh no! Then Fuji stops her from actually killing her, and then she admitted she killed her, and that made Fuji fucking have a mental breakdown. It was great. But yeah, no, it was. She is a fucking insanely cool character. Although I don't know where all that strength came from. All of a sudden,
I feel like she's just very skilled. She's one of those. I imagine her backstory is because they don't show us her backstory. We just get an idea that she grew up with the culture and the lifestyle that she has.
I guess it'd been multiple years since then as well. So she's been like honing her skills with a new motivation and drive.
Yeah, because she's like mid-30s or something.
Yeah,
based off the character design at least. But I think what's so awesome about her is just her brutal honesty about it. She's like, "Oh, I worship you. You are my god." But also,
I love
these
the
people...
fact that she is in love with Fuji as well. It's fucking hilarious, and just the way the moment when they're both on the boat, and he just makes another boat, steps across, and kicks that boat off.
He's like, "Fuck you! You killed my friends."
Yeah, she did kill her friends. Killed March and the other girl.
Yeah, I think that's what makes her so interesting and also so cruel, because you love to hate her.
Yeah.
And there's no.
Oh, do you know what's going to be a next awful arc for sure is Fuji. When she dies, Fuji might become her as well.
I don't think so, because I feel like he has to not absorb her, but he has to basically form up a connection with her, and we know that he hasn't done that.
I don't know if that's the case, to be honest.
I don't think so. I feel like because with March and with Pam and even with Guga, he was able to form. I think even it's not. I can't remember.
It might not have to be. Like,
I can't remember if it goes down to touch, but I do remember he had to form some level of a connection with them to the point he would be able to absorb them or adapt them to his like DNA. As for her, I distinctly just remember, this is just a feeling, I guess, but I remember him when he leaves her at the boat, because she asks him, "Kill me, let me become you, let me live on in you," and he just recoils from her. So that alone gives me the idea that, okay, he won't even let her have that satisfaction because he despises her that much. And that's what I think is also great about her, because she is one of those villains that you will know she cannot be redeemed after what she's done. Even if she does try to get in his good graces, she tried doing that to an extent, and she went out of her way to make even more pain for him and his friends.
Yeah, she was absolutely nuts. But I'm not necessarily sure it's based on just positive emotions. It doesn't have to be a positive connection. He has a hatred for her. Maybe this guy, this hooded figure, is one of the plot points might be Fuji might become to like absolutely despise him because he's basically made it so that he just absorbs everything that he has a connection with.
Maybe.
Regardless positive or negative. But we'll see. But she hasn't died yet.
Yeah, because we last see her, she's abandoned by Fuji, but then she gets attacked by, or we assuming she gets attacked by one of the knockers, the other alien species that come to Earth. And we last see her arm, we literally just see her arm pull a guy into her tent on the beach side after we assume he rescued her. And that's it. we have no idea what that's meant to imply. Maybe she killed him.
Yeah, God knows.
I
God knows what happened after that.
I have an idea.
She could be dead. Who knows? And we'll never see her again. But she was. I hope not. I'd like her to come back and be like a more common character.
We're going to see her again in some form, I believe. But as for the overall story, I got to say, such a strong first season for me because I really loved the character design, and that's how I first discovered it. I literally just saw a still of like the poster or wallpaper for the anime. That looks cool. Might give it a check out. Was not expecting it to hit me in so many feels with the story and the characters. Having seen it again the second time with you now, I'm so glad you were able to experience that with me. And now talking about season 2, what are your thoughts? What do you think is going to happen next? Because we know.
I think that girl's going to come back and make some hell for him. He's kind of traveling onwards now. He's alone again. So maybe she'll follow him and they might form a connection. Who knows?
Maybe.
I highly doubt it. I think she's just going to be falling his side basically for the next season. But in terms of what's actually going to happen, I don't really know. Maybe more information on the dark cloaked figure. We got quite a lot of information last season. But...
yeah, because we do know he's his creator. We know that he created Fuji to essentially be a counter to the Knockers. But I think there's a lot more that we still need to learn about him, which should be interesting. As for Fuji, we know there's a time jump. So we know he's going to be a bit older by the time we see him in the next season.
Yeah.
So that makes me wonder a few things. For me, I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with the Knockers, because they're still a threat. They're still out there, and he's basically actively. I mean, we can assume based on the fact that he's older now, he didn't use his powers much. That's why they were able to connect, find him.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how that's going to develop with the story. How are they going to try and combat him now that they've tried a few ways and that's failed? And there are some characters that are still around, and I think they did specify it was a 5-year time jump. So I imagine some characters might be a bit older. So a lot of the characters from the Prison Island arc, maybe even the brothers arc, because I'm forgetting the name, but Gugu's girlfriend, the girl he liked, she's still alive. Will we see her again?
Maybe.
And
maybe one day she'll just be dead, assassinated. Who knows? Can you imagine if he just turns into her one day? Great, what am I going to do with this one? Useless.
Cruel but brutal. And honest. But yeah, there's so many directions it could go, and I'm really excited. Primarily also because I don't know what's going to happen. Because after we watched it with you, after I watched it with you, there was a point where I thought, oh, should I watch the second season solo and then watch it with you again? But I thought, you know what? Let's not repeat that. Let's go in blind together, because I think that's going to be a lot more interesting and make the conversation a lot more fun to talk about afterwards.
Yeah.
And God, just looking at the wallpaper of this little, I'll put it on screen for everyone to look at. But just looking at this poster, I really, really can't wait to get back into this anime right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, as I said before, check out. There's so much anime that's good right now. I feel like we're in a good place right now with entertainment. And if you're going to talk
definitely anime entertainment.
If you're going to talk about anime or watch any at all that you're trying out for the first time, sure, watch One Punch, watch a few others that we'll get to later. But I would say top 5, you've got to try out To Your Eternity, because it is 100%. Such a good story.
It's definitely in I've seen a lot of anime in my life. It's definitely in the top 5 for me.
Mm-hmm. And on to that, we can now get to one that's a bit current for us, because we actually started this anime quite recently. So this one is called Mob Psycho. And
Mob Psycho 100.
That's it, yes. And would you like to get the rundown here, mate? Brief summary.
So it's made by it's written by the same person that made One Punch Man. So it features kind of an overpowered main character, but instead he's got some flaws. So he is a mortal being, not like Saitama, which is basically a walking god. Um, but he's got a very, very interesting like character about him, where he's very like shy and timid and everything on the surface, because he's holding back his emotions, because if he lets his emotions out, his powers come out, and he's got some incredibly strong psychic powers, but he's being guided by an absolute idiot who claims he's a psychic, but he's not. And he just like uses mob to do exorcisms for money, and it's great. And they have a great bond. Is fantastic. It like just the like all of his attacks that he has, like salt punch, and then it's just like, this is just table salt. He's like,
I think what's great about this one, because a lot of the anime we have watched recently, they have very, I wouldn't say they're grounded, but the expressions were very much tailored to the tone of their story. Mob Psycho 100 is a lot more animated in the sense
yeah,
that the expressions can be very cartoony.
it's super like exaggerated, very cartoony lines, like cartoonishly drawn. It's very, it's got a really interesting art style. I really like it, and the art style for when it does kick up and get a bit more serious during the more intense fights is incredible. It's like I believe it's also animated by Mappa. Yeah, it is. So the animation is going to be phenomenal, regardless. But also in the manga, it's really well drawn. It's really, really well drawn. But during the more silly bits, very simplified drawings. It's a lot. It's kind of similar to like a chibi style, but not. They're not like small or anything.
Yeah, I think
It's like that kind of cut between the two, like serious animation and the silly animation.
yeah, I think what stood out off the bat, because we've seen the first 5 to 6 episodes so far, and what I noted from seeing the first episode of the bat was that, okay, it's one of those animes that's very much made to laugh, to have fun, and
Yeah,
almost laugh at.
it's a fun actiony comedy. So
Yeah, that stood out, and it was quite nice because we'd actually just finished watching Vinland Saga before that, and that was very much a very serious, quite
dead
depressing
serious,
story.
dead serious.
Yeah.
I thought we'd change up the pace a bit.
Yes,
We needed something different.
yeah, that was a nice change up, and quite a welcome one, because that was, I wasn't expecting it to be like that, because the basic premise you gave me was that it was basically a 3 seasons story, which was a complete thing, which is actually why I think we decided to do that as well, because the story's complete. You don't need to wait for season 2 and 3 and such. It's already done. So I thought that'd be fun to get into an anime that's already got its full story, but also then find out, it's complete 180 from the stuff we've watched before. It's a lot more, as you said, very much have fun with it,
Yeah,
and I have been enjoying it greatly. I'm really curious to see how everything's gone, really, especially with the setup and how it's going to pay off. Because, as you said, the setup of him being tutored by this complete idiot, it's so
well,
bizarre.
he is actually quite smart. He's got some. He does some stupid things, yeah, but he knows how to manipulate people. He knows like he's a scam artist. He's got that kind of like street wits about him, which makes him like an interesting character. He's not just straight up dumb,
Yeah,
but
but
he's
what also makes him endearing is that he's also very, in his own way, he does care for Mob, because he
yeah.
does give him advice. I mean, again, I'm
And,
blanking on
and
it.
Mob follows this to the T because he really admires him. But he gave the advice to just never use his powers on other people,
Yeah, I can't
only on spirits.
I can't remember this exact wording, but the speech he gives him about, you don't use a knife or something. People can look it up for context, but that
Yeah.
speech was like, oh wow, that speech coming from him, that's weird but amazing at the same time,
Yeah.
and it explains so much about Mob and his actions, really, and his character up to that point. And as you said, it makes it even much more intense when he actually ends up going crazy with his powers.
Yeah. when his emotions break, and especially that moment that you've now seen between the fight of him and the blonde guy.
Hmm.
Um,
Another villainous character who goes through a lot in just a few episodes.
in a single episode, yeah, it was. I loved that fight the first time. It was very funny, but it's definitely not the best fight. It wasn't much of a fight, to be fair.
True, yeah.
But it was definitely a very fun moment in it.
Oh god, yeah. I remember being like, oh wow, I can't get any crazier than this. And then they fucking
It's
break the
absolute-
school.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely mental. And then like the knife cuts his hair, and then he loses all of his clothes, and his dignity's gone, and he's just like, why will you not fight back? And he like physically starts choking him to the point where he passes out, and then his emotions come out because he's unconscious, and he can't stop himself or hold himself back when he's unconscious. So, Lord, that boy
A lot.
done goofed.
God, a lot happened, but it made it that much more interesting. And now I'm really eager to see what's going to happen with that character next, because it seems like they're setting him up to be a recurring presence for Mob.
He will be back.
Cool, because I'm really curious to see how that's going to develop.
I phenomenally adore that character. I adore him because he's not a good person, and he's so funny. Everything he does is just comedy gold, and I just loved it throughout Mob Psycho.
Mm.
And he becomes quite he's a pretty powerful psychic, just not compared to Mob. Let's not think he's a weak psychic at all, because you're going to see some stuff in the season to come.
God, can't wait. And we don't even have to wait long, because we're probably going to watch more after we actually record this episode.
We will be, yeah.
Yeah. More so, I'm just really excited because for this anime particularly, it's been really fun up to this point. I've really enjoyed the characters and where the story's gone, where it's potentially going to go with everything going on with his brother.
So I haven't seen past season 1, so I'm also going in kind of blind, which is nice because that's a nice change of pace. Usually, I'm showing you an anime which I've already seen, and I'm excited for you to see bits. And now I'm in the dark with you, and it's like, oh god. Well, not yet. We're still watching season 1, which I know, which I'm excited for you to see some more tonight. But yeah,
God, can't wait. I really cannot wait to see where this story's going to go, and the fact that we know it has an ending, all the more satisfying because it means we don't have to wait. And yeah, Mob Psycho, good anime. I would strongly recommend it equally.
Yeah, if you want a comedy action, not so serious, it's a great watch.
And speaking about anime to recommend, I thought it'd be a nice one for me to also pitch one for you as well. So we've somewhat talked about this off air before, and I've pitched it to you before off air, but now it'll be a nice time to kind of give you a bit of a grander context. So the anime Beastars, what do you know about it based on what you've been told or heard about it?
I know it's got anthropomorphic characters. It's done in a world with anthropomorphic, kind of like Zootopia, is everyone's an animal. Which I do like the premise. I do like the premise. The art style originally put me off, the kind of 3D art style. I think it's very kind of westernized. I'm not super into it, but to be honest, nowadays I'm warming up to it. I've seen some bad 3D animation, and Beastars has some pretty decent 3D animation. And it's not all 3D animated, just little bits of it. But yeah, since I've watched a little bit of Berserk, like original, not original Berserk, but Berserk that got
the bad Berserk.
The bad Berserk. I watched a little bit of that just to see how bad it was. And do you know what? I'm warming up to it. I think. Do you know what? It's fine if it's not that.
I think after that, anyone would be okay with like, this is good. This is good compared to that. So that's the gist of it. So now pitching the premise to you, as you said, the anime is basically the story really about Beastars. Is it's set in a world where anthropomorphic animals live in place of humans, and to describe it close to Zootopia would be somewhat accurate, but at the same time inaccurate, because what's interesting about the world of Beastars is that it's it basically explores the concept of, you know how in Zootopia, when they deal with the night howler situation and people believe that the animals are reverting to a natural state or a primal state of aggression, when in actuality it's just because of a drug situation. And basically, Zootopia, that's the Zootopia story. But with Beastars, it takes that concept and makes it an inherent part of the world. So you've got carnivores who literally have to live with the idea that they are essentially like driven by instinct to attack herbivores. And you've now got this situation with society where you've got herbivores and carnivores living together, and they have to deal with this on a daily basis, and that's going to cause a lot of difficult situations for everyone to
Yeah,
deal with. And on top of that, the story of it being a high school drama,
yeah, yeah.
and all the challenges that come with
It's
that.
even more difficult.
Yeah. So the basic story.
Oh God, why have they put children in of different species in a fucking school together? That is like basically creating a death pit, isn't it?
You'd think so, but they do it in a very fun way, an interesting way too, which makes sense for the world. But I won't spoil it for you. You have to watch it.
Yeah.
But to give you an idea of the premise, the basic premise is that the story kicks off with a murder. Someone is killed at the school, and people are theorizing who it could be. But we focus on three main characters. There's primarily one main character, but there's three prominent characters who are very crucial to the overall story. It's the Grey Wolf Lugosi, the Deer Lewis, and the red dwarf, and the white dwarf rabbit, named Haru.
Mhm.
And it's these three characters basically trying to get through school life, but they have to now deal with this situation with this murder happening, and that points a lot of fingers at a few people. Puts a lot of people in different situations, difficult situations, and also makes them question themselves in a few areas. And I think what's so great about Beastars is that for the first season here, it really sells you on just the whole dramas angle of it, because when you watch a lot of the anime we've watched, there's a bigger story going on, there's bigger conflicts, it's mostly about the fight, so it's all about that big crucial story part. And a lot of the romance side, it's kind of a secondary thing, or it's completely sidelined. It's just like somewhat acknowledged because main character does have a love interest or does have a wife or something like that.
That's only usually because, and I can tell you right now, most of these have been animes I've been recommending you. And when I look at, say, an action anime, which is what most of our animes we've been watching, I hope that there's not too much of a romantic interest in it because I want it to concentrate more on the action because that's what I'm trying to watch. So usually when I'm looking for that, that's just what I found. So I went for a big phase of just loving straight up brutal action. I went for a phase of like loving straight up horror anime, and this feels almost like it's got horror elements to it. Not like terrifying, but just like seeing if you were a herbivore, just seeing a predator snap. Oh God! Oh my God! That's horrifying.
Oh yeah, there's some intense moments.
Being, I can imagine just being horror and looking up at fucking the wolf guy, and he's going savage. Oh no!
God, yeah, I think what's cool about Beastars is unlike a lot of the anime we have looked into, this one is more about the drama.
Yeah.
And surprisingly enough, that's actually what made it that much more interesting for me, because off the bat you think, the first season's going to be about them trying to solve this mystery. In truth, and a bit of a spoiler, but not a spoiler, that really doesn't become a thing until season 2. The whole of the first season is really just about these characters going through their daily life, and it's so interesting because of the world,
everything.
Yeah, with the world that they inhabit. And
I mean, many the top anime have done that, like Clanad, for instance. All of season 1 is just slice of life, and then season 2 is prepare to cry, bitch, within like the first episode. Well, throughout the whole thing as well, but like, yeah, that kind of like season jump of tone is quite common. Guilty Crown is another one. Season 1 was quite tame, and then season 2, what the hell? Which is another one I've recommended to you to watch.
On that note, actually, I should say this show is not tame.
Yeah, no, back to Beastars.
Yeah, this anime and the manga too, but this story does not hide the fact that it's a bit more for mature audiences.
Right.
But it makes it so much more engaging. And I think that's the best thing to take away from this anime is that it's so unique in its storytelling, even though it's also a very simple premise. And I've really, because I've read the manga, I know how the story ends. I will, again, no spoilers, but I will say there are things I wish they'd done differently. And in parts, there are things that I wish they had extended. Like, I kind of almost wish that this story was still going because I feel like they could have done a lot. But as is, I think it's all right. I feel like when they actually adapt, because currently as of recordings, the first 2 seasons are done. Season 3 is in the works. It's probably going to be out by next year. Probably they might. It's definitely going to be the longest season, and it's also been confirmed to be the last season, which is a shame, but makes sense, I guess. And there's a lot of stuff that's going to happen, quite exciting stuff. But there's, again, as I said, there's things that I wish they'd done differently because this world is so fun and interesting. It's sort of like My Hero Academia in the sense that the world has so many elements to it. You kind of wish that you would explore every part of it, even though you know, okay, this is the crucial story. We have to stick to this story, even though what is going on in so and so? Who is this character in so and so?
Yeah.
Same applies to Beastars. There's so many cool characters, and you learn a bit more about the world and how the mechanics run and how just in general things happen. It's just getting into that bit what I would recommend because it's such a fun watch. And even if you're not a fan of the anthropomorphic side to it, fair enough. But I just feel
No,
like it's such a strong story.
I'm definitely not minding it as much nowadays. I've seen quite a lot of like there's been content with like anthropomorphic things in it, and I've not kind of noticed. You know, I've just been like, okay, that's a third person. You know, I've just not watched one where like the whole world is that. But yeah, again, it was more the kind of art style was putting me off, but I've definitely warmed up to it a bit more. I've become less picky, I think. But no, the story in this looks really compelling. I just know I'll sink time into it, so I need to get some time.
Yeah. Again, in terms of just these the two main characters, well, the three main characters. Again, for the first season alone, they go through a lot, so you're endeared to them quite well,
Yeah,
and things will get really interesting as the story goes on. And I think at the end of the day, you just have to take away that it's a very strong story. It's one of those animes that I would strongly recommend because it's definitely going to be one of those that people will say, "Oh, that anime, I remember that. That was good, and that was interesting, or that was different to what we've seen quite a few times before already." And I think for me, the strength is the characters and the relatability, and also the trials they go through from
yeah,
such simple things that you can connect to yourself to also the more fantastical side of things that tie into the fact that they're animals and and they have to deal with so many you know elements that tie into that. Again,
yeah,
I can't say more without spoilers, but in short, Beastars is a must watch, especially if you want to try something that's different to what your usual,
yeah.
binging process has been for anime. And even if you just want to watch the first season, that's quite strong itself in itself. So at least give the first season a watch because it is good.
Right, I will do then.
On to another one I'd be recommending, and this one's actually a bit more subdued because it's there's no complexity to it. It is the most simplest of premises with the most simplest of animes ever that I found recently, and it's basically called Skeleton Knight in a fantasy world.
Okay, very self-explanatory.
Yeah, and that is literally just the title. It is literally the story of this guy who, because he, again, context, and this is a bit of a spoiler for the first episode because they explain it off the bat, but kind of need it, I guess.
Yeah,
So,
to explain the premise. Yeah,
essentially, this is a video game world, and this character basically wakes up one day and he's in his avatar character, and he's basically a knight, and he's got some powers because he designed his character to be that way, and he just wakes up one day and he's in his character. There's no explanation for it, and we don't know much about him as a character before.
yeah,
So all we know is that he just woke up. He's from the real world, but he's now in a video game world that he's got a lot of familiarity with, but it's just now like I'm living in now,
yeah,
and that is the story. There's no big overarching, like, you have to defeat the big bad to get your life back, or you have to meet this character because you maybe played a session with him before. No, he's like, this is my life now. Sweet, let's just live. And he just goes, he does normal jobs. He becomes a normal knight to earn a living to eat.
I love it.
And
I love it.
as the title suggests, the twist is that he's got a skeleton
Yeah,
through a
he's a
form,
skeleton.
so he has to cover his face so people don't think, oh shit, this guy's a walking dead. And I think what the thing to take away from this anime is that it was just so chilled back to watching it, because
I like that premise that no one knows. That was really funny.
it's, I think what's great for me is that I really wasn't expecting it to be so chill, because it's got the usual fantasy stuff. It deals with him trying to save people, trying to do jobs for them, trying to fight bandits, bad guys, and evil warlords. And you meet, and it deals with some, you know, adult stuff, you know, like slavery and such. And he has to like team up with these group of people, and it deals with a lot of that stuff. But it's so fun. It's in a fun way. You know where a lot of these characters, they're all right because this guy is super OP. But it's very endearing because I think what's also great is that he's not an asshole. He knows he's very powerful, but he doesn't treat other people as lesser than him, because he's just like, okay, I can clearly help in this situation. I will. And that's what I think is so fun about it, because it's very much the wish fulfillment kind of fantasy story that it adapts. It's because you want to live in a fantasy world where you are the best and these people need help and you can offer that help. It's that.
Wow. Yeah, no, I love that premise.
And also, I think his little pet psychic is very cute.
Oh, of course. Yeah, he's got a little pet psychic. I mean, it's a must-have if you're a skeleton knight. You can't be a skeleton knight without a little pet psychic.
So do you think you'll give it a watch?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So that nice little add-on out of the way, we can now get to the next big discussion piece, Vinland Saga.
Vinland Saga.
Now, this one, I was unsure at first, because off the bat, you told me that this was going to be a very...
It's different to what you're used to.
Yeah, because before this one, we'd watched a lot of, like, very fantastical, like, superheroes or ninjas and such.
Yeah.
This was the first one where you described it. It was very much grounded, because it's somewhat based off real history.
Yeah. It is basically based off of real history, except the characters are obviously made up. So it's all... it's all based on what actually happened, like during the time of Harold Hastings, during basically the invasion of the Dutch to England, when this was after the Roman Empire, just like I think it was Anglo-Saxon times, and Vikings were hired mercenaries to raid the shores of England during that time, and it's basically the story of our main character, Thorfinn. He, as it starts off in season 1, he's a young child, and he becomes an absolutely incredible character, I think. And apparently it gets a lot more interesting in season 2, which I have not seen. We're solely talking about season 1 here.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently he's a very different character. That's all I've heard.
Yeah, off the bat, the first season, again, such a journey to go on. Yeah. And I found it so fun because, well, I say fun, more really engaging.
Really gripping, yeah.
Yeah, because after watching the first 3 episodes, I immediately thought, okay, I know where this is going. At the same time, I kind of expected to go differently because I didn't know that he was going to lose his father so early on. I thought for sure they're gearing up for war. He's probably going to see firsthand how war deals with things. He's going to lose his father. But no, we lose his father when he's...
Before they get to the war, yeah.
Yeah, his father gets killed by
Askeladd.
Askeladd, thank you. And Thorfinn ends up joining his party to try and kill him, and he basically ends up becoming a semi-father figure to him as the story goes on.
Yeah, and
it's so interesting because you gradually learn more about Askeladd. Askeladd. God damn these names! But you get
Askeladd. If you need to know, just ask a lad. Askeladd.
But yeah, you learn so much about him. You grow to really find endearment in his group of his followers, even though all they do are literally pillaging and plundering towns.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they're bastards, but they're pirates. They're mercenaries. They know what they are, um, and they're fucking good at what they do. And Thorfinn just so happens to be, well, he actively chooses to be a part of this, but not because he's like looting anything, not because he's pillaging. He just solely wants his vengeance on Askeladd, and he wants it in an honourable duel, like a real warrior. So I love that about this character, where he won't like stab him while he's asleep because he easily could. Let's face it, easily could. But Askeladd knows this, and he knows how to use people. So everything is all the cogs come together for the characters very, very well. The political side of it as well is very fascinating as well, with the especially with the prince character.
Yeah, he goes through a lot too. Again, off the bat, you think, oh, are they going to do the whole play where, oh, it's actually a queen and is she going to be a love interest? But then you find out, no, that is a
Yeah,
king.
no, they kind of like almost double. They make you do a double take at one point when the
yeah, there's an assassination.
Yeah, there's an assassination attempt, and he's swapped out with a body double of a blonde woman that is closest they can get to him, because he's like got very feminine features. And obviously they're like, oh no, the prince has been hit, and they pop him down on the ground, they undo the jacket, and then they're like, it's a girl. The prince is a girl. The prince is a princess. And then he's just like behind them, like, you idiots. That's not me, you dopes.
Yeah, but I think also what's awesome about this character is that again he goes through such development in several episodes, because he's very much a very timid kid. Not like I say kid, he's a young man, but he's like very much like been sheltered. And even though he's got his attributes, and after losing and seeing firsthand how everything's going on with the war and how he's being used as a bargaining chip, really, by both sides, he eventually realizes, I need to do something about this. Especially when he has a moment of, was it a crisis of faith? After he loses his father-in-law, like,
Yeah.
not father-in-law, but the guy who basically raised him. Really.
Yeah, no, it was almost, yeah, it was like a father figure he lost, which was his carer. I've actually forgotten his name, but yeah, when he died, it kind of switched up his character a lot, and it like almost did a full 180.
Yeah,
great.
I think what's also great is that you really see how the direction is going after that. It's so exciting narrative-wise, and also because for Thorfinn, that's like, I don't give a shit about any of that. I just want my revenge, and it makes the war that much bigger when you realize, oh, it's not just about Thorfinn and his quest for vengeance. It's also about trying to navigate with the politics of, like, this is a world at war, a country at war,
Yeah.
and there's so many factions, and who do you think is going to be the better option? It's definitely the prince at this point.
Oh yeah.
And you even come to understand Askeladd's motivation for what he's doing,
Yeah,
and
because
how
it turns out he's one of the ancient remnants of the Roman Empire, being one of the old original Celtic warriors, or at least having that blood in him, not actually being one himself because he's young, but compared to them anyway. But yeah, it's like very, very cool that is what happened in history. It was the very, very small remnants were left, the Celtic warriors in Wales for a little while, and then they eventually just evolved and adapted into the Welsh. But it's great to see, again, time and time and again, empires rise and fall, and this is the fall.
I think what's really, really cool is that I realized near the end of the story, when he starts having visions, when Thorfinn starts having visions of his father, that's when it clicked to me what the story is about. The whole story isn't about getting revenge. It's about learning to know what happens afterwards, to figure out what you want to do with your life. And that's even spelled out by Askeladd near the end. When he again, spoilers, I mean, if it wasn't obvious by this point.
I mean, yeah, if you're going into this, spoilers ahead.
But when Askeladd ends up getting killed, in order to allow the prince to take his place as the king, he's basically denies Thorfinn's vengeance, but he ends up saying, "What do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do afterwards?" That's the whole point of what you
Yeah,
should
he's
do.
tired of it by this point. He's like, yeah, but like he's gonna kill me. I'll die anyway one day. He's kind of got that thought. So he's like, I'll try and like make a difference before Thorfinn gets strong enough to kill me, because I'm just getting older and he's getting stronger. He's not strong enough to beat me yet, but he will be one day. Kind of mentality. He knows the potential in Thorfinn and how strong of the warrior Thors was that he killed in a cheaty way with arrows from a distance. But he he's like, I think he's interested in what happens to Thorfinn afterwards, but he's not going to get to see it, obviously.
Nah, but I think again for that journey alone for Thorfinn, just it's incredible because he starts from such a simple place, and then he gets to that point of like, this is my goal now, my life goal to avenge my father, and then you find out near the end that that's just. I mean, as I think someone's
He
quoted this
doesn't even get
before,
it, yeah.
but yeah, the whole arc of the first season is him just learning to understand the truth of the matter. Life's not about revenge. It's not about achieving this one thing and then that's it. You have to think what happens going forward. You have to know what comes after. You want to know what you're going to do with your life, and that's the big question now for season 2. Because he tried killing the prince who denied him his revenge, so now he's going to be taken away to God knows where.
Yeah.
So, talking about season 2 now, what are your hopes for it? What do you anticipate?
I'm anticipating Thorfinn to go through an absolutely midlife crisis, even though it's not the middle of his life. Probably in this time it's the middle of his life, but he's going to go through a big crisis. He's going to be dickhead for a while, but probably like emotionally dead for a little while, for a couple episodes. He's going to ask more about his dad, learn more about his dad from someone that is close to him. Or either that or go back home and talk to his family maybe, and then maybe he'll become a different person, or maybe the whole arc will be him being like, well, I can go back home now, but I can't face them.
Yeah, do I want them to see me like this after what I've become and what I've done?
Yeah,
because he's a killer. He's killed people.
Oh yeah, he's killed hundreds of people very effortlessly. It's very impressive.
I find it interesting what's going to become of him because he's such a efficient fighter, and he has his faults, of course, because he can't beat everyone. He's not that kind of traditional anime protagonist. But he's so formidable that it makes me wonder now that he's not got that purpose of revenge, is he going to even want to fight anymore? And does that mean that if he does end up coming into conflicts, how's he going to react to that?
I think he's going to become a pacifist almost. I'm kind of dreading it, because I feel that's kind of where I can only see the story going. I feel like it's zooming out to the bigger picture, and trying to like kind of do something powerful, which it will achieve, but to the sacrifice of the action we loved the first season for.
Yeah, I imagine that might make a few heads like turn into disappointment, but I can see what the direction that's the creator's going for, I guess, if that's the case. And I think that's actually quite a strong way to go around it, because maybe this is just me talking my age, but I'm really getting to that point in my life where I'm really appreciating stories that can tell such a meaningful, narrative for it. And the idea of telling a story
couple
about
grey hairs there.
Shut up. But yeah, the idea of this telling a story of this kid growing up admiring this warrior and thinking that's all there is to life, just fighting and killing, and then seeking revenge after he loses that father, to then realize that's not what you should want from life. Find out what else you want. Find out where you want to live. Find out who you want to marry, what you want to do as a life goal. If that's going to be the bulk of the story for the next few seasons, that's going to be very interesting. Definitely a bold direction to go, especially considering
it kind of flips it on its head for a lot of
Yeah,
animes where it shows the kind of really super intense stuff in the first season, and the second season is going to be a wind down and more of a slice of life.
yeah, because the easy thing to do would have just been have Askeladd be killed by another more formidable foe, and then have Thorfinn just transfer his seek for a vengeance to that vengeance to that character. So
Yeah.
season 2 could have been about, oh, now I have to fight this guy who I'm seeking vengeance against because he took my original need for vengeance away.
I mean,
But
he could feel that towards the prince.
maybe too. But I feel like they're not going to do that because I feel like the dynamic they built up together. Because Thorfinn didn't give too much of a shit for him, but
Yeah.
I feel like they've had enough groundwork together that I could imagine them in some form maybe patching things up. Maybe I can't say for sure how because considering all the circumstances of the final episode for season 1, but I don't think they're going to be enemies. I feel like they're definitely going to clash in some form, but I don't think they're going to be enemies because I don't think that's going to be what Thorfinn's goal is in life.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I think you're right on that bit. But it'll be interesting regardless. I'm eager to see what his character turns into. I'm prepared for it to wind down and not be as action packed. So hopefully I won't be too disappointed by it because I do love my action.
Yeah, if anything, it might be similar to Beastars, where it's the drama will
Yeah,
engage us more than the action and the fighting. And again, it's all about character. If they can do good character work, then heck, they can give us a whole season of him just him trekking through the countryside, and I'd probably be
yeah,
okay with that because if you can sell me on this character, I'll take it. I'll
yeah.
take that compared to what we get
I'm
usually.
eager to see what it turns into. For sure, definitely highly recommend.
God, yeah, another up there for animes right now. Definitely a must watch. A must watch.
At least season 1, but for what we know.
So I think it's quite fitting that we can now get to the last entry in this discussion, the one we of course could not talk about, considering we've talked about it a lot since I think the first entry. So this
Yeah,
will be the consistent discussion point we've had throughout all anime episodes. But My Hero Academia,
wow.
God, such a nice change up from season 5.
Yeah, very nice change up.
What do you okay? Thoughts? What did you think of season 6?
Dark Deco is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. I really, there were so many moments in all of the last season we watched, which was, it's so action packed. So much happened. They had the fight with the whole villain underground by episode 1. That started straight away. Main characters died by episode 2. Episode 3, shit was hitting the ceiling fan, and then just kept chucking more shit, and then Deku goes on this amazing journey, which I think was very needed for the character. It just felt like it was time. He's gotten very, very strong. He's gotten to the point where he's stronger than everyone else. He's probably the strongest hero out there, except for his own personal limitations.
Mm-hmm.
He is definitely a force to be reckoned with, and we really see that this season. You know, he's skilled, he's sharp, he's focused, but he's so much of it that he doesn't want to endanger anyone else because he's too much of a hero. So he endangers himself, and that endangers the whole world even more. Decky, you dumb asshole. But he just keeps staying by himself, pushing away help, and trying to keep the danger away, and keep moving so he's not detected by a certain quirk that detects him when he stands still for a long amount of time, I believe, or is able to pinpoint his location a bit better.
So I got to say, from the beginning, season 6, strong start. I love the fact that we got straight into the war stuff.
Yeah,
because that was it was slowly built up for the latter half of season 5, and I was really anticipating it. But I was also concerned because of how things had gone with season 5, up and down really, and I was so happy to see that they just got straight into the fight, and it was so engaging seeing the heroes finally confront the villains, and also then when things went tits up, it's just when things went crazy. it's just to see Shigaraki finally become the villain, the proper no nonsense. This guy can kill everyone villain. It was so entertaining. So, and okay, so just to make it a bit more simpler, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. My only gripes with it was that, and it's not even really a gripe. I'm more just surprised, really. I'm surprised that we didn't lose a lot of characters because I thought for sure if they're dealing with a war on this scale, I think for sure we would have lost a lot of the teachers, especially the adults in the
I was
situation.
thinking we would lose some classmates.
Yeah, classmates too, but surprisingly, it was mostly like side characters. I think the only character that you could argue we lost that was prominent was Midnight, which was a shame.
And twice.
God, yeah, twice.
Twice, even though he's a villain, it's like, I love that character. Great.
Hmm.
It's a fantastic character. And it's kind of a shame that he's gone, but it was a fitting end by Hawk, no less. So.
I think it was very interesting because it really affected Toga and a lot of the other side members of the league. So it's made, especially
It was good
Derby
development
2,
for them. Yeah,
it's definitely changed up their attitude now, and it's making them a lot more dangerous.
yeah.
And Derby 2, really,
Wow,
really
what
good Derby.
Yeah,
God,
I did call it as well, didn't I?
yeah.
Do you remember? Do you remember when him and Endeavour first met?
God,
I
yeah.
think it was like season 4 or something.
Beginning of season 4, yeah.
They meet, and I called it then, and I remember it. I said, "Fucking hell, what if he's like related to him?" Because I said about the flames, and it's a bit weird that he's a bit obsessed with Endeavour. And it's like, oh shit. I didn't think it would be his dead son, but I did call that later on in the series, didn't I?
Yeah, I think it was kind of like a strong
so good
indication
at predicting things.
After during season 5 when they went to their house and you saw the mural for memorial for the son that died. I think that kind of made it clear at that point, even though it was still like, is it true? Because this could be a completely different scenario that we're walking into. But no, you were right on that regard, and it was so entertaining.
Yeah, it was very entertaining to watch. They did it incredibly well. Absolutely broke Endeavour.
And it also ended up revealing about his whole, all his cruelty and how his actions to the whole world.
Yeah.
The whole country now knows who Endeavour really is, and it happened at the worst time. And now Hero Society is just
absolutely crumbling. There's a new Hero Society opening up as well.
If anything, it's just anarchy.
Yeah,
Anarchy's taking over Japan, and it definitely shook up the story in ways that I wasn't expecting them to do in so soon. But my God, it was needed because it made it that much more interesting to watch. I think, for at least in terms of the first half of the season, I loved the fights, especially when it came to Bakugo and Deku working together to try and fight the villains.
Yeah,
and especially when Bakugo he basically sacrificed himself to try and save Deku in that moment. He could have died, and I thought for a bit, oh, he has died, considering the dialogue, considering how it's shot, and Deku's reaction afterwards. God, it was so needed after everything that had happened up to that point, and to have even at that point they don't win. The villains get away and they're beaten, they're broken, and now even Hero Society is just in shambles in terms of how they're perceived and how everything's been changed. I'm getting a bit winded just talking about it.
Yeah, no, it's an absolute journey.
First half of this season, it was so needed after season 5's mixed to okay run for me, and I loved it. I also love the change ups because when we get to the second half of the season, which is the dark Deku arc or the Dark Hero arc.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, Deku's new costume.
Wow.
So intimidating, but so nice, so awesome. I also love the addition of Gran Torino's scarf because it's at the end of the day you have to remember it's not just All Might. He's learned a lot from different mentors at this point, so it's nice to see that even carries over into his costume as well.
And we got to see Stain actually have talked to All Might.
God, I was so glad he came back because I thought for sure have they forgotten about him? because he's still around. I feel like they still owe us an All Might scene with him, and thank God they delivered
No,
on that.
he was just stuck in Tartarus, and then shit hit the fan again.
Yeah, all the villains are out of Tartarus now, and All for One is leading the charge. He's got Shigaraki's body under control now, and he's also now got his own body free. A lot of things are looking down for the heroes right now, and yeah, the latter half of the story was literally just Deku on the run, and that was so much fun, especially also when it came to him clashing, because you get to see him adapt more of his powers, the powers that he's mastered because of One for All having like added additional quirks. I love how they utilize those. Although saying that, actually, I was a tad bit disappointed with how it resolved, because from how it's set up, you think, okay, this is the same route they're going with Naruto, where the hero has to go away for a bit, or go solo, or go and learn something else for a period of time, and so they'll they'll learn from it. They'll be better prepared next time after their defeat. And I feel like
It's very yeah. It's the same thing Goku goes through in Dragon Ball. He goes off and trains, gets stronger. Naruto does it, but I guess they didn't want to do that because it would be a lot to animate.
maybe, but I don't know. I
Because
feel
there's more longer-winded animes that usually have that show the long training arcs. Because usually it skips over some of the training in this unless he makes a revelation.
personally, that's how I thought the story was going to go. So I will admit it was different. It was because you have the whole of Class 1A come to try and convince him to return back to UA because they want to keep him safe. They want him to be in a good state so that the villains don't take advantage of that and capture him. It makes sense in the grand story of seeing the full season now, but I can't help but feel like I was kind of expecting them to go the other way, where Deku would go out into the world. Maybe he would actually end up leaving Japan, or maybe only a few would follow him, like maybe Bakugo and Todoroki, or Leader and Uraraka. I feel like there could have been a sole side story or sub arc, or maybe even a full story arc, which focused on these young heroes just going vigilant, and that was the arc for like that could have been the arc for like a whole new season, but instead it was like condensed into more. Deku's on his own for a few months or maybe weeks. I can't
I
remember.
think they all might become vigilantes. They might follow in Deku's footsteps.
Nah, because they end up getting him back and they go to UA, so they've definitely regrouped in that sense,
Yeah.
especially with the other heroes as well. I don't know. I guess I
But
was kind of
I feel like they, as a group, yes, they've come together. But I feel like they are going to go against the Heroes Association or whatever it's called, the actual like licensing place
Yeah.
that does it, because maybe they might restrict him from actually doing things, and they all will become vigilantes.
Maybe, but at the same time, they're like in shambles too, so I imagine they probably
Yeah.
haven't got much leeway.
That's
Because
true. Yeah.
I mean, their boss was killed during the war as well. If anything, I imagine they'll probably be just completely dormant. But I think what really surprised me on the disappointing angle was just the ending, because we find out in the last episode that Shigaraki is going to be at his full strength in 3 days.
Mm.
So like, okay, so we're gearing up for the last big battle in just 3 days.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do a lot in 3 days.
Yeah, and that's why I'm like, could we have just like, as I said before, could they have done another arc that kind of built up to that? Because I feel like that's something that should have happened in a long time way, instead of just, okay, here's the Deku goes rogue arc, but now that's done, and literally like a few and then 2 episodes later, the big battle's going to happen in 3 days. Really? That's a lot. That's going to
Yeah.
happen in just
Yeah,
3
that was a
days.
bit of a bombshell. I'm interested to see how much they actually squeeze into 3 days
Mm.
of anime time.
Yeah, I think the only thing I can, yeah, I guess to wrap up the season 6 discussion of it was definitely an improvement over the previous season. I really loved how the narrative went with the war arc, how everything came to a cluster with the Todoroki family, with Darby and Endeavor,
Yeah.
and also with All for One and Deku. I love how they again, it reaffirms Deku's character as being the person who will go out of his way, even at his own expense, to save everyone, including the villain. Even though at this point Shigaraki has become like so so diabolical, the fact that Zuko still wants to try and save him, because even there's even a part of Shigaraki who was just he didn't want this. He was just failed by the system of hero society and their flaws. So Deku is going out of his way to try and save him, even though we still don't know how he's going to be able to save him.
Oh god, yeah.
I feel like that was the strength. They were the highlight strengths of the season, and also when it came to his classmates, I love that they came to his aid. I love that Bakugo got to finally apologize to him.
Yeah, that was a great moment.
That was 6 seasons of build up. We finally got to that moment, and that was so needed. And even near the end, even Uraka gets a moment to shine, which I thought was great. Although saying that, actually, in going back to our previous discussion when we talked about this, about those two potentially becoming romantically involved by by this point of the story, I'm glad that they didn't in the actual season 6.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't, because again,
it wouldn't have had a place.
yeah,
It doesn't have a place yet.
yeah. I mean, if by some miracle they're able to prolong, again, this is like talking about potential season 7 stuff here, but I doubt they're going to do it in just 3 days. But if there's a way to prolong the villain's big fight, and we get some time, at least a period of time where they can just like relax, I could definitely see something coming of that, where they can just have a moment just to with each other, just to talk, to air things out. Because look, we're going to be fighting this guy in X amount of days or weeks or a month at least. Let's just lay it on the table. I like you, you like me. After this is over, do you want to get a boba tea?
Let's get a condo in Miami.
Yeah, let's get a drink at the pub. But yeah, I feel like that's still on the cards to happen at some point, and I hope it does, because again,
I mean, it's building up. It's going to go somewhere.
Yeah, I just hope
you can't just fizzle it.
Yeah, I just hope it doesn't fall into the same trap of other animes where it's just epilogue. They're a couple now. It's like, I do want them to see those two actually interact.
Yeah, because it almost feels like very like it's needed at this point, because there's a very dark bit, and then we need some slice of life to see him really be happy. He's done the big fight. Maybe after this big fight's over, they'll have some slice of life stuff.
Maybe
maybe some final like OVA kind of things where it'll be an episode of them and they finally confess. That'd be nice.
Talking about what's to come, so we are now anticipating. We are now anticipating season 7. So as of this recording, we don't know when that's going to air. Maybe next year. Who knows at this point? Likely next year. But what are your hopes for the next season, considering what we do know?
My hopes. I hope we see some more Deku off the chain. I hope we get to see more of Deku's powers, because we know about most of them now, and I think there's 2 more we don't know about. Is that correct?
I can't remember.
It's either 2 or 1 more, but we don't know about some of the powers. So I'm looking forward to finding out what they are.
Yeah.
In terms of where I think the actual story is going to go, what I'm hoping is going to happen is I'm hoping this is the wrap-up season.
Oh, you think so? So you wouldn't mind it if the next season is the end?
I think it's a good point. It's even the way Deku looks right now is how he looked in the first intro for My Hero. So it almost feels subliminally fitting, I think they can do it. They can do it in the next season. I'm surprised as well how much content was in the last season. Like, it was so much was happening all the time, and I loved it. There was not a single episode of downtime, and it was great. And I'm hoping they do that again and just make it absolutely insane. Just fucking, how about 15 or plus episodes of fighting just Shigaraki? That could just happen. If in terms of I want to see that, maybe one more season of build up before that, because I would hate to see this end. But I feel like it is at the point where you could close the book and you'd be pretty satisfied with the story.
Fair enough. Honestly, if you were to ask me like 2 years ago, I probably would have said, "Oh, I would like the anime to at least run for 10 seasons." But also, because I feel like there's so much story still to tell, which is why I was kind of a bit surprised with how things wrapped up near the end of season 6. So going into the next season, I think the only bit of a spoiler, but not a spoiler, because it's the only bit I know based off the ending. Again, we are introduced in the last episode of season 6, Stars and Stripes, who's the American. She's the American #1 hero, and we know she's coming to Japan to try and aid in the fight.
Yeah.
And the spoiler I know is that the next arc is called the Stars and Stripes arc. So knowing that, I'm really curious to see how that's going to play into the story, because I imagine that sounds like it's going to either be it won't be a filler arc considering it's tied to the main story, but I imagine that could be an arc where we find out how America was dealing with Japan with the entire thing going on. Yeah, because we know that they talked a bit about it, but in the last season, but it would be cool to see how America really just is in the world of My Hero, and how her story plays into that, and also leading into what's going on with the current story. Maybe if she ends up meeting the villains in the said arc before she ends up getting to the heroes, maybe she could do something about it. She could stall them, because we don't know what her quirk is yet. For all we know, it could be something as simple as super strength. Maybe she's got some power that allows her to punch reality or something.
Yeah, God. Oh, that would be insane. But is All Might the #1 hero only in Japan, or is he the #1 in the entire world?
I'd say he's the #1 hero in Japan, but he's revered throughout the world because of his influence in Japan, Japanese society. So it's almost like that. It's the equivalent of a celebrity where everyone knows
I would have
him.
loved to see if he was stronger than the first hero of every other country.
Maybe
like if he was the top hero.
Yeah, that's another thing, because her meeting All Might, because she calls him Master when we see her. So what's their dynamic? What's their relationship? How did they meet?
Oh, God knows.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's quite promising that I'm really looking forward to with the first half. And what I was saying was that if she can somehow stall the villains, maybe that could tie into the whole prolong the ending, because I think it's impossible to just 3 days till the big fight. I feel like there's got to be something that's going to stall that, because I feel like we need a bit of time before then. Because
maybe that would be the kind of redemption for them, is they're all going to work together and make sure that they can save the world by delaying them, preparing, and then battling.
Yeah, because how it's set up at the end of season 6, it almost feels like the moment season 7 happens, that's the end game battle. But I feel like you need a bit more setup than that, because I feel like the latter half of the season was just so a lot happened so much.
Yeah. I just thought of something. It could be the last season. Isn't he the 7th wielder?
No, he's the 9th.
The 9th. It could go on to season 9. Can you imagine that? If they're doing the amount of seasons based on how many holders there are.
I did not think of that, actually. No.
I was just thinking, because I saw, we're just currently looking at a poster, which I'm sure will be on the screen on YouTube, of the 7th season teaser poster. And I saw the number 7th, and I thought maybe he's the 7th wielder, but I forgot he's like the 9th or something. Which means he's got a lot of powers, man.
Yeah, but saying that, actually, talking about seasons, I hope this next season isn't the last, because even though it seems like it's setting up to be, I feel like there's a lot that needs to still happen. I mean, heck, we still need to know who the bloody traitor is.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
And I still think it could be her Invisible Girl.
I mean, she'd make the best one.
But that aside, with everything going on with the main story, we still need to resolve a lot of that and set up that decently. And I feel like they can do again. Each season so far has been like 20 to 25 episodes, I believe. So they could do a lot, but I still feel like I imagine they're probably not going to get a lot of that done in just 25 episodes. So they could at least run till season 8. But I like the idea of, as you said, them doing maybe 9 seasons. So what we could do is that the final arc of the series, could comprise of season 6 to 8. So like a trilogy of seasons could be about the war arc, and then we could round it off near the end with a final season, season 9, and that could be more of like the epilogue. Because if you remember, the first season of My Hero, that was just 13 episodes.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, it was.
kind of reminds you kind of like, oh shit, there was only like 13 episodes, and then from that onwards, it was always 25 episodes, the traditional number of episodes for animes, especially when they had several cores. So maybe they could do something similar where these next 2 seasons are the same number of episodes that wrap up the full big story, and then the ending could be like, here's 13 episodes of the aftermath. So here's them as heroes, or here's them just picking up the pieces from the end of the war, or maybe just something as simple as you said, where it's just about them in daily lives. Because after all that fighting and all the conflicts, maybe we will need a season that is just life.
Maybe so.
Yeah, and I will stand by this point. All Deku's father, we still have yet to see him, and based off how,
Bro, they haven't even mentioned him.
yeah,
It's insane.
yeah, and I know just on the father side of things, it makes sense because from what we know of him, it seems like it's set up that he's just a father figure who just cares about his job. He's not in his life, so there's no reason for Deku to talk about him or his mum. But the possibility of him being all for one, and I understand that considering the interactions they've had in season 6 now, it does seem less likely. Because I feel like all for one as a character, I feel like he would take advantage of that if he was Izuku's father. I feel like he would have tried to play by games with him up to this point to try and get what he wants from him, which is his quirk. So,
Well, there might not have. Nah, I don't think he would have gone out of his way to do that. Just to get. Well, we don't know what Deku's quirk was.
yeah, but
We know it could have potentially have been stolen. Like he could have been born with a quirk, and we don't know what it is.
I'm not sure if that's officially known because I think that's just a theory.
The doctor that works on that told Deku he doesn't have powers is the one that tells kids if they have powers.
Yeah, I feel like that's just a theory. I don't think that's official, but again, that's a possibility. But just knowing the fact that All for One wants one for all,
Yeah,
and the fact that
it could be that he has now killed his father and assumed his place as soon as he found out about All Might and him becoming close.
Maybe I don't know. I just talking about the whole All for One is his dad concept. I think that could only work if he was genuinely his father, just because of the whole "look, I am your father" angle, but also just because of what it would do to Deku after that point. That's I think the big draw for the concept for me. Hence why I think I want it to happen. But from how it's been presented so far in the story, I am leaning more to the idea that okay, they're clearly not going to go that route, unless they pull us under the rug near the end. Because for all we know,
we have no idea who this guy is.
Yeah, we could be gearing up for a final battle where Zuko and him are clashing, and maybe because we know his face is disfigured, but who's to say he won't get a quirk? Who's to say he won't get Aries' quirk, and he's able to make himself go younger? And we find out that when we see his face restored, Zuko could have that moment where he just goes, "Dad," and that's the big reveal. That could happen.
Oh shit, dude! That's insane. That's a really good prediction.
Yeah. Oh,
that could happen. Oh Lord! Oh Lord! If that doesn't happen, I'm going to be disappointed now.
Oh God, there's so much that still has to happen that I really want to happen. And in closing, really, I just got to say it. This is out of all the anime we've discussed, I would strongly recommend them because I've really enjoyed them. They've really enriched my enjoyment of just like entertainment.
Yeah.
Again, considering how entertainment is right now, it's shit. There's not a lot of good stuff.
Anime's still good though.
Yeah, thank God we've got anime because this.
Thank you, the East.
But yeah, this has all been so much fun, and at the top of it for me right now is My Hero. It's one of those animes that I've really, really latched onto as one of my favorites, next to
Yeah.
Naruto. And again, song and dance at this point. But if you haven't seen it yet, and again, I'd be surprised considering up to this point all the spoilers we've talked about. But give it a shot. It's so good, and
It's absolutely worth a watch if you've not seen it. You've now been spoiled for everything, but you should still give it a watch because we don't do it justice. That's the problem.
yeah. At the end of the day, talking about it isn't the same as seeing it and living that experience of watching that experience. So give yourself a weekend and just watch the show. Start watching the show and get invested yourself because it is such a fun journey. And I'm so glad this one's not over yet because there's a lot that still has to happen, and I can't wait to see what will happen. More so, I can't wait to watch it with you, mate, because
Yeah, it's going to be great.
you've been on this journey with me since we started it, and I cannot wait to watch it with you when it ends. And in wrapping up, considering this is unofficially the last episode of our unofficial trilogy,
Yeah.
I can't. Again, I've somewhat said it already before, but thank you so much for reintroducing me to the world of anime because it has made my life in general so much more palatable. Again,
it's nice after a long day at work to come
God,
back home, sit back, enjoy going somewhere else, you know. And there's a couple ways to do that. There's games, and there's your like favorite TV show on Netflix, and there's anime, which is just a whole other league in itself, in my opinion.
God, yeah. I mean, again, people will know already if you've followed this channel for a while. A lot of my entertainment has just been really soured lately for how things have gone in general. Again, don't need to go into context. You can, again, if you know, you know how things are going. So to have had this chance just to enjoy entertainment on this angle, because really just to get into anime again, because I was always aware of it before, somewhat watched a few things, but really, thanks to you, mate. Thanks to you, Lennon, I've been able to get into that world again, and it's been so rewarding.
And let me tell you, it was a struggle to get where I am now. Not by saying watching it with you, but I'm saying picking out the shit from the good. And I've given you all the good. And I've shown you all the best, the diamonds that I've had to swim through sewage to find. There's a lot of animes that are bad, but here are some. What we talked about are some really goddamn good ones.
God, yeah. And
just don't watch an anime called Green Green. Don't. Okay. Everyone out there, don't. And you, no. Not allowed.
I'll take your word for it then.
Fucking
And with that, I think we can also officially conclude now. Thank you so much, Lennon, for making this journey such a fun ride. Thank you for once again taking part in an episode that I've really enjoyed talking about, and I really hope you had fun taking part yourself.
I did. Thank you very much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
And yeah, with that, again, either one of these animes, check them out. You will not be disappointed. And I look forward to seeing what we talk about next for your last episode coming up, hopefully.
Oh, well, not hopefully it's my last episode, hopefully. But it will be the last episode, so.
Yeah. All things come to an end. But hey, it's about the journey, eh?
Yeah, it's all about the journey.